I think. Yeah, we're live
Yes.
again, man.
Yes, we're live.
And okay, before we say anything, how good do we look right now with Santa's hat, bro?
We
Come
look
on.
awesome. We look
No,
awesome.
we do look awesome, but
We
but it's
do.
our tradition.
We
Yeah.
look awesome. So, welcome, guys. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for joining us in this very last episode of Chá Pedagógico of the year
Yes.
2024. So, this is
Of the
the
year. It's
of the
not the last
year.
episode, right?
Yes,
You're
it's
not going to
not
get rid of us
not
anytime
so.
soon. Yeah.
Yes, not
Yeah.
anytime soon.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
this is the last episode of the year, episode number 12. Today is Sunday,
Wow.
December the 15th,
It is.
2024.
Yep.
And we, of course, as it's a tradition, it's a Chá Pedagógico
It is.
tradition, we're
Yep.
wearing Santa's hat. So,
We are. And can I tell them a very quick story? Because you remember that, Rudy. I didn't have a hat, right? And
yeah,
then, and then okay,
that
so
was really
before
silly.
that was stupid, guys. Before we came to Disal, we did a lot of horrible things that you will never know about
Okay,
unless you
yeah,
go back
no,
to,
not that
you know.
horrible. We did what
Well,
we
yeah,
could. I mean,
yeah.
in
We improvised a lot,
structure
right?
wise,
Yeah.
not because you say horrible things, people are gonna think that we're like,
That's yeah. I mean,
criminals.
look at how far we've come with the scenario, with the setting, and everything. But there was an episode. There was a Christmas episode that I basically forgot to buy a hat. Right, I didn't have Santa's hat,
Yes.
and then I had to improvise one with cardboard, and
Yeah.
I think cotton. Right, I used cotton or something like that.
I don't know.
for
Actually,
the
there were
fluffy
two
thing here.
episodes.
I
We
don't know,
did
man.
this. Yeah, you
Or
improvised
the
for like
paper,
two.
maybe.
Yeah, for two episodes.
Yeah.
There was this one that you used cardboard and
I don't
whatever,
know, man. Yeah.
whatever
Then
school
I
staple you
painted it
had.
red. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and there was this other one that we both used. Well, it wasn't AI at that time. With
Oh,
the filters.
the filter thing. Yeah,
Yes,
that's true.
the
Yeah, I
filter.
forgot about that. Cool.
Yes.
But
So
here we
yeah,
have actual hats this
yeah.
time.
No,
Okay,
these
and
are
they're good quality hats.
these
Yeah,
are the real
the
deal.
real deal, right?
Yeah. Well, and by the way, nice setting you have behind you.
Bro, I had to
Spot
make it
on.
special. It's the last one of the year, right? So
Yeah, but
thank you, folks. Yeah.
people better be used to this setting because it's gonna be this way for a very long time.
Yes, that's the idea, man.
All right.
But what are we doing today, Rudy?
I don't know. I
Basically,
think I'm
yeah,
thinking about having some tea and talking to people. No, I'm just kidding. We're here.
right. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Today we're here to go over every episode of the year, which is also a
Mhm.
tradition for Chá Pedagógico. Ever
Yeah,
since we started Chá Pedagógico at the end of the
that's
year,
true.
we go through the episodes we've had along the year. So if you guys didn't have a chance to actually join us in some of the episodes, you're going to have a chance to join us now. Of course, it's not going to be that
It's not the
thorough.
same.
It's not going to be
Yeah.
the same. But yes, we're going to go through each episode of the year. We've had 11. This is the 12th episode. So we had
Yeah.
11 episodes. So
That's true.
yeah.
That's
And we're going to
amazing,
try
bro.
to do this. We're going to try to fit in 60 minutes
Yeah.
or
Well,
ish.
I'm checking.
Ish.
We're going to try because, man, we talked about a lot of different things, right?
Yes.
But at the same time, I think there are some commonalities, because we addressed like technology, social interaction,
Yes.
language and thought, right? So I
Yes.
think we will be able to cover. And the thing is, to help us, I wanted to share something, and I'm gonna have to ask our big brother, the director,
The
to
Oracle.
the Oracle, to share the screen here. I'm sharing the screen right now because to help us, we're gonna use this art as a
Mhm.
guide to
Yeah.
go through the first 6 episodes because this is amazing, folks. This is something that Guilherme Scarpin. So thank you very much, Guilherme. You rock, man.
You're seeing this right now, and it's amazing.
It's amazing. So basically, we commissioned this banner, and I have to remind people that we got sponsorship, right? eFuture Korea. Sue, remember? Sue was here with us in. Was it August? I don't
No,
remember
June.
now, man.
June.
June. Okay.
July.
The
July.
rest- so
July.
Dude,
July.
I have no idea what day it is. It's Sunday, right? Okay. So she was
December.
here. Yeah. And she sponsored this amazing banner. And the artist behind this very cool art is Guilherme Scarpin. So please follow him on social media. And how about we take a look at the first 3 episodes and then we can follow? All
Yeah, I
right.
think it's in the very beginning of it, right?
Exactly.
And before we
Yeah.
go through the episodes, guys, very important reminders, okay? If you haven't subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel. This is
Yeah.
going to help us increase our reach a lot. And also don't forget to give us the thumbs up. Why?
Yes.
Because if we reach 100 likes today, now, till the end of this episode, we're going to give away a special Disal kit, okay?
Yep.
And also a book by Disal. So
Yeah.
we are going to give away a book and a kit. It's going to be a combo. It's going to be a full combo, but only if you
It's your
reach
Christmas
100
gift, huh?
likes.
Yeah.
Only if you reach 100 likes. And how are we going to give away? How are we going to choose whoever is going to be the person that's going to receive this amazing gift?
Yeah.
We have the chat box here. So interact with us in the chat box, and we're going to choose the best comments in the chat box, and the best
That's it.
comment in the chat box is going to receive the special kit by
And we
Giselle and
usually
also a
choose the
book.
same, right, Rudy? That's it. Yeah. Sometimes we
Exactly.
choose different
But
ones.
we
Yeah.
need to have 100 likes till the end of this
100 likes.
episode. So
Yeah.
yes, so click on the thumbs up, subscribe
Yeah.
to the channel. That's very, very important. And please share the link to this episode with every teacher you know, and tell every
Exactly.
teacher you know to hit a thumbs up so we reach the mark of 100 likes. If we don't reach the mark of 100 likes to the end of this episode, we're not going to give away the kit nor the
That's
book.
it.
Okay?
That's it.
Yes?
Yeah.
Now, let's go through the episodes, because the very first
Yeah.
episode was groundbreaking for
Oh,
everybody
yes.
and for
And I think
numerous reasons.
our director can take it off now, because I just wanted to show people that this is amazing. And I don't know if people knew that if you want to access the art that was, commissioned by us
Yeah.
with a sponsorship of eFuture Korea, done by this guy, Guilherme
Guilherme
Scarpin,
Scarpin.
you can actually go to the New Routes magazine.
Yeah.
The latest issue, if I'm not mistaken. There's a link
2
there.
issues
You
ago,
can-
I guess.
2 issues
or
ago,
three,
maybe.
three issues ago.
No, I think there are 3 issues yearly, right? Or 4. Okay.
So it was the first one this year.
Yeah. Well,
The
not
first one this year.
Because
Wasn't it?
remember, we commissioned this for Brastiso, so it must have been the second one, probably.
So,
But
yeah.
anyway, you guys will find it. We can make the link available, and then you can download the whole art, and you can actually look at each episode. But yeah, the first one was about language and thought, right, Rudy? George
Yeah.
Orwell, 1984.
Yes.
Yeah. So what did we talk about?
Yeah, the whole idea for the very first episode. First, it was the very first episode of Chá Pedagógico in this new house here on
Yes.
YouTube, Gisal's YouTube channel. And the whole idea the idea was not Orwell. The idea was Marcelo Marmelo Martelo by
That's
Ruth
true.
Rocha, our very own Ruth Rocha, an
Yeah.
amazing writer, Brazilian writer. And the whole idea was the arbitrariness of language. Because if for some reason we tell people, or we tell students or whatever meanings, we may block creativity. Why? Because that's what we do, and that's how historically we've been doing things. So I'm going to use mug for the very first time this year, and in the last episode, a mug is an example.
Yes.
So
Mug.
this is our mug. This is Chá Pedagógico's mug.
Yeah.
So if I have a person that doesn't know how this recipient is called, I'm going to say that this is a mug. And by doing so, I'm going to remove the probability for that person to actually experience and experiment with this object and think on their own how to call this recipient.
Yeah.
And Marcelo Marmelo Martelo in his book, and also in the series on I think Amazon Prime, if I'm not wrong, he does that. He's allowed to create words, so he plays with the language. So he doesn't say, for example, house. The word house doesn't use the word house. He calls it in Portuguese moradeira, because
Ah,
so
yeah.
he plays with the language. He's allowed to do that, and he's very creative. So that's the whole point. Are we being arbitrary when we are dealing with language teaching? Are we actually blocking or interrupting the
Yeah.
creativity of our students in doing so? And on the other hand, uh, there is also a problem, because if we actually do this, if we actually create language or play with the language, and instead of saying mug, I'm going to call it shori furimpula. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe a lot of people are not going to be able to understand what I'm saying. So we're going to have a communicative breakdown here, because people are going to look at me and say, "Are you okay? Or having a stroke or something?"
And
So
dude, that has everything to do with why the social aspect of language evolution is very important,
mhm,
and we talked about how language is a way for us to express what we're thinking,
mhm,
for us to externalize what's in our brain, basically. And by doing so, we can make a record, let's say, of the things that we learn, the things that we think of. And that's why we are somehow much more intelligent than other animals, at least according to ourselves, right? We're the
yeah,
ones doing. And because we can systematize whatever we're thinking and use language to record that and to pass it on to other people. And at the same time, I think, so we can wrap up because we still have a lot of episodes to
oh
talk about,
yeah,
right? But at the same time, what you think and what you can say, or the things that you can speak, even though they're intrinsically connected, we're not talking about determinism here.
yeah,
Your thoughts do not determine your language. They influence your language and vice versa, right? I mean, sometimes we can think of things that we don't have words for, right?
yeah.
And
And
maybe other languages, they have the words for that thought that you had, but you know
one more thing,
yeah.
I think we have a trespasser here today.
Is that Sophia?
I guess
Ha.
so.
Yes. Hey, Sophia.
Uh,
She came just, dude, that's perfect because Montessori, right? That was our episode 2. And she goes to a Montessori school or
she
something like that.
goes. Yes, this is going to
Okay.
be that's
That's why
yeah.
she came.
We weren't expecting this
She
cue, but
picked up.
we do got this cue. But
Perfect for that.
which in this
Yeah.
episode, in the very first episode, we actually used Sapir-Whorf, the theory, this
Yes.
Sapir-Whorf theory, as a
Of
background.
linguistic determinism, right? Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And vai lá com a mamãe, por favor.
She
Go
always
ahead,
wants to be part of
Andre.
the episode. Yeah. Yeah. But so let's move on to the second episode because basically we wanted to talk about how we can learn some very important aspects of language teaching by looking at the Montessorian approach, right? That's
Yeah.
what we're dealing with. And one of the things that came up when we were discussing that is that if you go to Montessorian schools, you see that they don't have ubiquitous use of technology like everywhere. So, which means that even though technology serves a purpose, Montessori understood the prevalence and the emphasis, let's say, of social interaction and discovering the world as you are exploring it, right?
Yeah.
Free play, building a community. And what we are seeing nowadays is actually the opposite of what Montessori wanted, right, Rudy? Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. And there's also a misconception related to Montessori, the Montessorian method, and the Montessorian schools. People claim that they're Montessorian schools, or
Yeah.
schools claim they're
Yeah.
Montessorian, because they think we need to leave the kids or let the kids do whatever they want,
Yeah.
which is not it. which is
Yeah.
not it. There is a big difference between respecting the freedom of your students and the freedom of the kids and what they are interested in, and letting them do whatever they want to do. There's a
Exactly.
big difference. And that's not what Montessorian schools have to do. Montessorian schools, they need to be structured. And because they are
They,
structured, they actually can respect the kids, respect their background, respect their wills, and all these things.
yeah,
In the episode, I mentioned the stations. Normally, Montessorian schools have many types of stations,
they do,
and
right?
it's the structure that I just mentioned. And when the kid goes into the classroom, they have those stations. Those stations are ready. The teachers, they are responsible for preparing the stations beforehand,
Yeah,
and they say, "Look, this is what you have. This is what you can do today. Go ahead, do it. It's here." And then if you feel like, "Oh, I don't want to do this anymore," you can go to another station and do something else. And
yeah.
something that at that time I hadn't watched yet. There is a very nice cartoon on Disney Plus called Bluey. It's an Australian cartoon. It's
Oh, okay.
amazing. Bluey. It's
Bluey,
about
okay.
dogs, but it's a cartoon,
Okay, cool.
and there are dogs, and but seriously, if you haven't watched it yet,
Yeah,
do it. It's really cool for kids and for adults.
yeah,
Seriously, it's really nice. And uh, there is this episode that the kids or the puppies, they study at a Montessorian or a Montessorian like school. They don't say it's Montessorian, but
okay.
if you're an educator, you can
You
recognize,
can tell, right, the
you can
difference.
tell. Yeah. So it
Yeah,
was.
and you have done a lot of training in Montessori in schools, right?
Yes,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
some. It could be more. It
Some,
could be
right?
more. It
Could be
could be
more.
more. It
Yeah,
could be more.
exactly. Yeah,
And the cool thing about that episode, it's because you have a lot of stations in the episode. Then you have a bunch of
yeah,
kids building a fortress, and then you have the other kids. They are playing that they're selling something at a store, and then
yeah.
there's this other station, and there's the teacher, and the
Yes.
teacher guides them through. And at the end of the episode, they are all interconnected, you know,
That's it. Yeah,
and
and I like
that's
this.
it.
That's what you're saying, man. This structured flexibility. So basically, the environment was prepared for students to go through different stations, but they have to go through all the stations at some point, right? They
Mhm.
have to work with different things,
Yeah.
and I think what we can learn from the Montessorian pedagogy, let's say, is that language should be in a way kind of based on a Montessori school, I guess. So we have the items, you have the tasks, you have the things that the kids and teenagers, adults have to do. And the sequence doesn't have to be so rigid, but it has to be prepared
Mhm.
in a way that is conducive to learning. So what you want to do is to get your students to go through the stations and experiment with the different stations and do that in an environment that they can exchange a lot and discover
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
interact with others, right, Rudy? And that's it,
Yes,
right?
yes,
Yeah.
that's a premise of Montessori, of Maria Montessori. You know,
An
let
amazing
kids,
educator
an
from
amazing
Italy. Yeah.
educator.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting. We're going to talk about Paulo Freire later today, but it's
Yeah.
amazing how, for some reason, two amazing educators
Yeah.
got completely misunderstood lately.
Yes. Yeah.
Many schools misunderstand the premises of the Montessorian method, approach, and
Yeah.
teachings, and etc. And a lot of people misunderstand Paulo Freire.
Oh,
And
yes.
two
Even
amazing
more
educators.
people.
It's
Yeah.
amazing how they
And they
got
have very
misunderstood
similar ideas, man. Very similar ideas,
because
constructivist ideas, right? Yeah.
because if you think through, at the end of the day,
Yeah.
education is understanding other people and other people's needs. It's pretty much
That's
it.
so true.
And then you have to prepare yourself in order to fulfill what they need. And as you said, the structures, there isn't a framed sequence for Montessorian schools. And the only reason why they don't have this, it's because they need to be structured Lessons need to be structured. Teachers need to be ready. They need to be extremely qualified for that. Because
That's
if they're
true.
not, of course, it's going to feel like, okay, so you're here, do whatever you want. So here, if you
Yeah.
want to go to the library, go to the library.
Yeah.
And it's not it.
And
It's
and
not
there was
it.
a lot of pedagogical documentation going on. Like it's not just let the kid go free and do whatever they
No, they
want,
have
but
a portfolio. They
they
use
have
portfolio.
portfolios.
Yeah.
They check what the kids are doing if they were able to get something done that they didn't before. So
Yeah.
there's a lot going on. But we
Exactly.
have to move on, bro.
And I
To-
know, I know,
yeah,
I know. And just to wrap
yeah,
up this Montessori, because
yeah.
of course the whole idea behind Chá Pedagógico is linguistics and neuroscience. Yes.
Yes.
And what about language? How does language develop in a Montessorian environment?
Yeah,
Well, if you have a structure in which your students are allowed to experiment and have different experiences with the structure, you're
yeah,
going to do the same with the language. You're
yeah.
going to have language emergence because language is going to happen as they interact with one another. And there's also guided emergence of the language, because then the teacher is going
Yeah.
to be responsible for
A
showing
lot of
them
emergent
the
language happening there. Yeah.
the linguistic models,
Yes.
and therefore, because there's going to be interaction and structured interaction as well,
Yeah.
the language is going to thrive. The language is
Which
going to
is
to
the
thrive.
complete opposite of what we discussed in episode 3,
Yeah.
intensive courses.
Oh my
Basically,
goodness.
you sit your butt there for hours and hours, many days. There's a lot of input. You don't explore anything.
Yeah.
There's some social interaction, but it's really about memorizing long lists of, vocabulary, grammar structures, and does it
This is the
work?
episode that I didn't come, right? Because I had an issue.
Yeah, so Rudy was not there with us. So we
Yeah.
missed you, bro. Don't do
Yeah.
that to me. you know.
Yeah.
But
I
yes,
hope I don't
Rudy,
have to
yeah.
do this again, man. I
No, don't
remember
worry.
that Sunday. It was
It
it
was
was
a tough
bad,
one.
man.
Yeah,
It was it was a very scary Sunday that Sunday. But anyway.
yeah, but basically what I talked about in this episode that and then I can go over it very quickly is that even though a lot of people say online that you can boost your language proficiency in a couple of months, and we talked about a very similar thing in one of our last episodes that we're going to come to that in a couple of minutes. But anyway, you can boost your language proficiency in a couple of months if you are exposed to the language for many, many hours. It's not like that. There are a couple of places in the world where that might happen, but you have to dedicate your entire life to accomplishing something like that. And the one place that I did research on that actually shows very interesting results is the Department of Foreign Language Institute at the military in California. But we're talking about extremely disciplined people. There's a hierarchy. They live the language 24/7, and the lives of other people depend on their success. And there's an aptitude test for you to even get into the course. Okay, so folks, no, you're not going to learn English in just a couple of months, even if you study the whole day. It's just too much information for your brain to deal with. Okay,
No, it's
I'm sorry.
unrealistic. It's completely
Yeah,
unrealistic. And before we continue, I know we're still going to talk and deal with intensive, or the so-called intensive courses. I don't see
yes.
anyone in the chat box here. What's going on, guys? Come on.
Yeah, I wonder, are you folks celebrating Christmas early? Or
Seriously?
I don't know. Yeah, it's
There are only
December, folks.
conditions. There are two
Yeah.
conditions for us to give away the combo. All right.
Yes.
We need to get to 100 likes until the end of this episode.
Yep.
And we need you
Invite
guys
your friends.
interacting with us. We're going to choose the winner based on the
Yep.
chat box. All right.
That's true.
So use
By
the
the
chat
way,
box.
why don't you folks, the ones who are watching us right now, why don't you say hello and tell us where you're connecting from, or just make a comment on one of the episodes we've discussed so far? Okay.
or
Let's see. Let's
roast
see.
us because we're wearing Santa's hats and we look ridiculous.
Yeah, make fun of us. We'll take it.
Yeah,
We
we'll
can
take it.
take that.
We'll take it.
We'll take anything, right?
We'll take it.
That's it.
Exactly. Exactly. And don't
Yeah.
forget to subscribe to the channel. This is also
Oh,
very
yes.
important. Okay. Very,
Most definitely.
very,
Yeah.
very important. But the
Yeah.
whole problem is the idea that we came up, the idea of having an episode to analyze the intensive courses is because
Yeah.
we've been teaching and working as teachers, as language teachers for quite a while.
And
Like
we've given
quite a
intensive
while.
courses, guys. Rudy and I have.
Air quotes,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The so-called
Yeah.
intensive courses. And the problem is, people want something very fast. They want, oh, I want to learn English. People don't say this nowadays anymore, but they say, I'm going to travel in like 2-3 months, or I'm going
Yeah.
to have this very important meeting in 2 or 3 months. And
I
I
have to
know that my
speak at a
English, that my
conference.
language, yes, and
Yeah.
my language is not so good. So I need to, I need to brush it up a
Yeah.
little bit. And every time I hear something like this, I feel like that's not how it works.
Yeah.
First, because there isn't a specific number in neuroscience nor anywhere, not even Steven Pinker is, uh,
Steven Pinker, he's always
macho
showing
enough to come up with a number and say, look,
you can learn.
learning is going to
Yeah.
happen after
Yeah.
whatever months or whatever years, or
Yeah.
oh, we have
But
finally
but
Carlos from Jundiaí. Okay,
cool, Carlos. Yeah.
very close.
Well,
We're
but
neighbors.
one thing we can the Department of Foreign Language Institute in California actually says that for you to learn category 1 language, I think you need something like uh 36 36 weeks or something like that. I don't know. But the thing is, again, considering those kinds of people, who are we talking about? Military,
Yeah,
who have passed the aptitude test, who are incredibly disciplined, and really their whole lives is for that.
yeah,
That's what they do the whole day. You cannot do it. I cannot do it. Rudy, you cannot do it,
of
because
course
we are not going to stop our whole lives to
Nope.
learn Japanese.
No,
It doesn't happen in
and
real
it,
life.
it doesn't happen
Yeah,
like this,
yeah.
and then you may say, but Rudy, what about the Common European Framework? They say
Mm,
that after 1 year of instruction, no, you have to pay very close attention to
yeah,
what CFR is saying. They're saying that after 1 year of instruction, of formal instruction, you may have had around 200 or so hours of formal instruction.
yeah,
And after that, students may
yeah,
change their proficiency level. They're not saying that they will change. It's a
yeah.
different modal. Yes,
But they go
will
from
is a
one
modal.
level to the next. That's
Exactly.
one. And we're
They
talking about 6 or
may,
7. Yeah.
they may. It's a
Yeah.
probability. They're not, saying it. No,
Yeah.
your students will. No, they may
But
change their
even
proficiency
dude,
level.
if they start at A1, they're not going to get to C2 in that period.
Shh.
That's what people are selling.
No,
Take an intensive course and move from A1 to C1,
nah,
or A1 to C2. No,
nah.
it
Of
doesn't happen
course
like
not. No, it
that.
doesn't.
No,
It doesn't work like
it
that.
doesn't.
Learn.
It's a
That's not how
myth.
learning
No,
works. That's not
it's
how
a
learning
myth,
works.
guys.
Simple.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
So again, guys, be very careful. If you're one of those teachers who work for schools who actually um, offer intensive courses, maybe
Yeah.
it's time. Well, not now. You can leave it to
Yeah.
for the beginning of next year, because right now you guys are celebrating your
Yeah.
on recess, because that's not vacation, so it's a
Yeah.
recess. It's a holiday recess. But maybe it's time for you to sit down with the principal or the coordinator and say, look, I've been studying. That's not how it works. Maybe we can change
Exactly.
this. We can change that. You make some modifications. If you're
It takes longer. Yeah.
exactly,
It
if you're a
takes longer,
teacher
guys.
and you are offering this, please rethink your practices. Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe it's not a good thing if you're actually
Yeah.
offering your students that.
Yeah.
because
Dude,
you'll be
I-
lying to your
yeah,
students.
I
That's not
think
nice.
maybe we can skip a lot of episodes now, and then we can come back later and actually take advantage of this moment and talk about the last one we did, which was called
Okay.
An Inconvenient Truth.
Oh yeah.
And I think this is connected to what we're talking about, because one of the things we see all the time, and there was like 2 or 3 weeks that Rudy was sending me the most outrageous, ads from Instagram of people who claim they had invented their own method. There was an expert at whatever university who found a region of the brain that lights up when you're using this or that. And that's all BS, folks.
Oh
Okay.
yeah,
So be
definitely.
careful with those huge promises. They go like, hey, they usually say that traditional schools are not telling you the truth. They want you to keep paying. So they don't want you to learn fast. They use methods that don't work very well because they're based on grammar. They say those words, right? And many times they say that you have to learn from a native speaker.
Oh boy.
So, oh man, those are all myths, right, Rudy?
Oh boy.
Don't believe what those guys are saying. It takes time. What you need is a qualified teacher.
Yeah.
Traditional schools, they're not trying to fool you guys. You know, they're
Yeah,
not.
they
I mean,
their
they
practices
might, yeah,
their practices may not be the best though, you know.
yeah,
But that doesn't mean that there is a new, and I think they lead with you're learning the wrong way,
yeah, yeah.
you
That's
know.
what they say,
And
right?
schools don't want you to learn the right
Yeah,
way. No,
no,
for starters, many schools and many educators have no idea how the science of learning works. For
yep.
starters, they have
That's
no idea.
that.
And because they have no idea,
Yeah,
they're not competent enough to fool people. So you see, because if you know something, then you can manipulate and you can fool
that is
people.
true.
But they don't
Yeah.
know how it works. Many of them don't know how
Dude,
it
you've
works. They
just explained
blend.
the Dunning-Kruger effect, that you just,
Exactly.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know. So first of all, no, there isn't
yeah,
a new way of learning things. Learning
yeah,
things require basically one thing and a consequence: attention. There are many types
yes,
of attention.
yeah,
This is something we discussed in the members club that we're going to talk about, that we're going to talk about in a moment for Chá Pedagógico members club. Uh, so it requires
definitely, yeah.
attention. If you have attention, then of course you have a subgroup coming in, which is effort, right, Andre? I remember
Oh,
you said
yes. I
that.
mean, because focused attention requires effort, right?
Yeah,
If you stop making an effort, then you stop paying attention. Then you don't learn, right? Yeah,
yeah. It's not because if you pay attention, you're going to be
yeah,
completely focused on what the person is saying. But the effort means you also have to think. It's not just pay attention.
exactly.
You got to think.
It's not a passive thing,
No,
right? You have to be engaged and
exactly.
involved. Yeah,
Exactly. And
exactly.
language learning is the same. The language development is going to be the same because
Yeah,
if you're focused, if you're paying attention and you're going to, and if you make an effort, you are going to develop something called shared intention. You're going to understand the intention of other people, and you're going to be able to develop concepts that's going to lead to linguistic development, because then you're going for every time you want to express certain intentionality, you're going to use certain combination of words,
yeah.
and that's it.
That's it.
That's
That's
it.
it.
So
And
if you
and
don't
and
pay
that's the
attention,
thing, bro. You talked about attention, and the other thing that is really important, besides effort, is memory. Because we pay attention to create memory. First, we create short-term memory. That's part of something called the working memory. Has to do with short-term memory.
yeah.
But we know from so dude, there are so many studies showing that our working memory is limited, which means that we cannot receive a lot of information at the same time and be able to process everything. So that means that there's a limit to how much we can learn in such a short period of time. That's why when people make those promises that you can boost your, language proficiency, like from 0 to fluency in a couple of weeks or
Yeah.
months,
Nah.
you will be completely overwhelmed with so much information that really there's no way you're going to learn that fast unless again you are a military and like your whole life depends on it, and then you're living through
And
that, and
even
which doesn't
and
happen
even
even then.
so,
Yeah,
and even
yeah.
so, there's a big chance that they're going through a very terrible cognitive overload.
Oh yeah, they
It's
are.
but
Yeah,
because they're in the military and the army, we may not know that.
they signed up for that.
And they signed no, they
Right?
signed up for it, but we may not know that, you know.
Yeah.
But there's a big chance that they're going through a cognitive overload. There's gonna be I'm sure there's gonna be days in which they're gonna say, oh, I can't do this. I don't want to do this. I'm super tired. Like
Mhm.
us, super
Exactly.
stressed or super tired or whatever.
Yeah,
But again, they're in the army or
yeah.
they're militaries.
They
So they're
are.
not allowed to say, I'm not going to do this today because I'm super tired. They'll do it
Exactly.
anyways. But the
Exactly.
result may
Yeah.
not be the one that is expected, you
Yeah.
know. But
And you know what, man? I think because
and
we
thinking
have to
and
move
talking,
on.
I have the cue here. I have the cue.
Yeah, yeah.
Cognitive
You have the cue.
overload for
Cognitive
technology.
overload. Exactly. That's the thing. We talked about myths and facts, about technology in education in Portuguese at BET,
At
right? In
Betty,
São
Brasil,
Paulo.
in São
That
Paulo.
was the first, dude. That was the first time that we were actually recording this face to face,
Yeah.
live at
Yeah.
BET. So that was really cool.
Yeah.
We both had our mugs. That was really
Yeah.
cool. Right?
And
Yeah,
I think it's a great, well, I wouldn't say it's a spoiler, but that's
yeah,
something, and also for the guys at Disal,
yeah.
we have ideas for 2025. So
Oh yeah, we will talk about that, right?
Disal, guys, you
Giselle,
know, we already have ideas for batch
just
2025.
hang in there. You'll see what we're coming up with.
Yes, but
you know.
this is a conversation
Yeah,
for January, for not
yeah,
now.
yeah. Let's
But
do
in
it.
this, but it was amazing that
Yeah,
well, of course, um, we um, we developed the episode
yeah,
beforehand, of course, and we already knew what the issues discussed
yeah.
throughout the days of batch would be, and it was about educational technologies, etc.,
Ed
etc.,
tech.
etc.,
Yeah.
edtechs. And
And
then,
and if I may, Rudy,
yes,
almost every booth there
yes. Oh,
was really about a new technological tool.
oh
Almost every
boy.
booth there. Yeah.
Every booth
I
with
mean, we're talking about
a lot of booth,
tens of thousands of people. Yes.
a lot of booth.
Walking around like there were a lot of booths. Okay.
Yeah. And it
Yeah.
was interesting because while I remember we were talking about this
Yeah.
some weeks before batch that we were expecting the amount of booths dealing with ed techs and talking about ed tech, and we were expecting a lot of them saying incomplete things. I'm not going to say that
That's
they're
true.
lying, but they were not completely complete. That's it. And but what surprised me negatively the
Yeah.
most was seeing the panel with the Secretary of Education for the state of São
Oh,
Paulo
dude.
and some other guys that were
Yeah.
clearly um, not
They were
very.
not educators. Just
Yeah, yeah, nah.
and while you're talking, I'm just gonna ask our big brother to show the art of this episode because it's really cool.
Yeah, it's
It's
already
right
the
there.
second,
Yeah,
the
it's
second
really, really cool. Yeah,
trimester of Chá Pedagógico.
yeah,
And what surprised me the most negatively was
yeah,
saying that was seeing the Secretary of Education for the state of São Paulo
yeah,
not having a very full perspective on educational technologies and actually uh, saying
yeah,
a lot of good things that right now, about technology. And right now, the whole state is banning some educational technologies from
yeah,
coming into the classroom, you
yeah.
know. But so you have an idea. There was a moment in the panel that he said that AI in schools and for teachers would be a great
Was going to
idea.
replace
Is
like teacher planning, man, like lesson
yes,
planning for teachers, right?
and
Yeah,
then after 5 or 3 minutes, he was basically saying bad things, dissing
Yeah.
online teaching.
Yeah.
So it's, yeah. But the thing was,
Dude.
but what we discussed, and I still think it's
Yeah.
worth talking and bringing back here today, is that we're not against technology in schools. We're not
No.
against
No.
students using technology. We're not against teachers using technology. The problem is the way technology has been used in the classroom by both
Exactly.
teachers and students, and uh,
It has to
how
support,
and
not
how and
substitute,
how
right?
they've been implemented in
Yeah.
schools, because
Yeah.
the implementation is wrong. Schools, they see new technologies, and they have this great idea, like, okay, let's bring it to to the school, let's bring it
Yeah.
to the classroom, and they just say, okay, teachers, here's a new technology, use it. That's not how it works. That's not
No.
how it
No.
should work.
Yeah.
And this technology this technology is not supposed to be a
Yeah.
substitute. The technology must be there to
To
help our
support
students,
us. Yeah, of course.
to
Yeah.
support
Yeah.
teachers in creating lesson plans.
Yeah.
Yes, but
Sure. Yeah.
not use the technology to create a full lesson plan. No, maybe
Yeah.
to give
And
some
and and
ideas, you know.
and you know what's even worse many times is that technology is being used by students to create stuff that they should actually build with their
Hmm.
own hands themselves, because that's a principle, a
Yeah,
universal principle of learning. If you
yeah,
create synapses,
yeah.
if you do the thing yourself. So if you're delegating that to AI, for example, like write an essay for me about whatever topic, and you
Mhm.
didn't even bother trying to write it yourself, you're not learning anything.
Yes.
Now, of course, you can write an essay and ask AI to give you feedback. Okay. The problem is how many students will have the power to control their impulse, their inhibitory control, and say, I am not going to cheat using AI. I'm actually going to use it the right way.
They're
That's the
not.
problem here.
Not even
you know?
adults. You know,
Yeah,
if we
no, yeah,
consider adults
exactly.
and they are
Yeah,
supposed to have full
yeah,
control, their inhibitory controls,
yeah,
they're not going to do this. And there's one more thing related to language development.
yeah,
As you said, I'm not talking about writing. I'm talking about language development. And every time I talk about language development, we're talking about speech. We're talking about oral skills, you know.
yeah,
And how are they going to develop their linguistic skills, their language skills, if they use ChatGPT for everything?
there you go.
Especially because ChatGPT is not a real interaction. You don't have a real interaction.
Yeah,
You're not
it's artificial.
exactly. So in
It's
the
artificial
linguistic, yes,
intelligence.
in the
Yeah,
linguistic exchange that we have with other
yeah,
people, we are paying attention to phonology, we're
yeah,
paying attention to syntax, we're paying
yeah,
attention to language combination, we're paying attention to intentionality, we're paying attention
yeah.
to several other things that are going to influence the way that we are also going to communicate verbally.
Exactly.
And if we
And
use ChatGPT for that,
yeah,
we're not going to have access to all these things.
yeah.
We're going, and there's one more thing. We're going to think that what ChatGPT is saying is the only way of doing that,
Yes,
when it's not. Especially
exactly.
English, and English is not something that belongs only to a country or two. No,
Yeah.
everybody, or I'm being super general here, but
Yeah,
many people around the world speak English.
yeah.
Many people, many people. So, you know, that's a
Exactly.
problem.
And dude, that's perfect because it connects with episode 5, which was really about normative teaching,
Oh, that was really good. That was
Yeah,
an
right?
amazing and by the way, before we
We
go,
had fun.
before we
Yes.
do that, if you haven't watched the previous episodes, subscribe to the channel here on
Yeah.
YouTube,
Yes.
and after the episode here today, take a look at the podcast tab that they have because
It's a playlist. It's a
because it's a
playlist that
playlist, and you're
yeah,
going to
they
have
created
access to
for us.
all the
Yeah.
episodes that we are talking today here,
Make
you
sure you
know.
watch them, folks. They're good.
Yes, that's really
Yeah.
important. And don't forget to hit the thumbs up. And don't
We are
forget to
biased.
We are
but they are
super
good.
biased. Yes.
Yeah.
And don't forget to interact with us in the chat box. I see only Cirilo.
Yeah.
Cirilo said hello. She
Cirilo,
said
hello,
hello.
hello, Cirilo.
And
And
we only have
Carlos. Yeah.
23 likes. If we
Aha.
don't get to 100 likes until the end of the episode,
No
and if we
Christmas
don't have
present for you.
more people interacting with us here in the chat box, we're not going to give you a Christmas gift. What
Yeah.
is the Christmas
I-
gift? A special kit from Disal and also
Yeah.
a book, a real book,
Exactly.
a
A real
real
book.
book.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
like, no, book. It's a book,
A book.
We're
Yeah.
giving away a
I think
book.
people are traveling. They're on holiday right now, so they don't want to watch us live. But anyway,
Well,
but that's connected to concreteness fading as well,
mhm.
because basically what Rudy was saying about AI, it's very formulaic, it's very artificial, right? It follows a certain pattern, and what happens in real life communication is that it doesn't. So we have to be careful not to fall into that trap of making our teaching extremely formulaic, very predictable, and according to rules. I think it's very important for us to break rules.
Mhm.
And I remember that one of the things that I wanted to actually bring to this discussion and related to this episode was this woman, Lisa Feldman Barrett,
Mhm.
who talked about in one of her books how emotions are made in the brain. She talks about two things, but one of the most important concepts is experiential blindness. After you are exposed to something and you create meaning, and that becomes a solid thing or consolidated thing, you might not see when there's an important change, and that is the reality for you. So you have to be careful not to fossilize, let's say, certain things, because then when the real thing comes up, when you actually have to use the real language or the real term or the real whatever, you're blind to it because you've used the wrong one so many times that you cannot snap out of it and actually do the right thing, right, Rudy? So got to be
Exactly.
careful. Yeah.
Yes. And one more thing, if we go for the rules, if we focus on the rules,
Yeah.
first thing is maybe our students are not going to be familiar with certain terms. So if you
Yeah.
go with, oh, this is the adverb, this is the preposition, and you got to go the subject first, even in their native language. Let's say in our native language in Brazil is Portuguese. Maybe they don't even know what an adverb. They're not going to be able to recognize an adverb in
That's true.
Portuguese,
Yeah.
let alone in a different
Yeah.
language. A different language. So I don't think this is the way of extracting the best result from our students.
Yes, that is
And there's
true.
one more thing. When we're developing language, we don't go for the rules. We go for what they represent. There's well, for those who were my students at the university, because we're both professors, and I talk about language as a symbolic unit. Why
Yeah.
do we call it a symbolic unit? Because we use language to express certain representations that we have. That's the cognitive in linguistics, because I am a cognitive linguist. So that's what cognitive means. We're going to develop certain concepts, and based on these concepts, we're going to associate those to certain chunks of language, and that's it.
Exactly. Yeah.
There is one of the books that Tomasello wrote is talking about uh, what we are very what's easier for us to understand, linguistically speaking, when we're developing a language, and those who are and then he separates into linguistic domain,
Yep.
and it's the linguistic domain and the other domain. Geez, I forgot about the name of the other domain right now.
Yeah.
I'm too tired to know for that, but anyway. And what is the linguistic domain? The linguistic domain means a person needs to understand language in order to understand its concept. And then you have prepositions, and then you have determiners, and etc., etc., etc. For a person to understand what on means, what to means, what
Yeah.
for means. The person needs to have a very, at least a basic understanding of the language in order to understand that. But for a person to understand what the word father mean, or a
Yeah.
representation of the word father, this person doesn't necessarily need to have a linguistic information for that. This person only needs to have a representation of what father is, and
It's
maybe
much
the
more
represent
concrete.
it's
Yeah. It's
exactly.
exactly. Yeah.
And the person doesn't have to have a linguistic domain for that. So
Yeah.
definitely
Yeah.
normative teaching may not
Yeah.
be the way for the results.
Yeah.
And then
Okay.
and
Let's move on. And
and
we still
hey,
have 5 episodes to talk about, and we're running out of time.
I
So
gave you I
let's
gave
speed
you
up.
the cue for getting the best out of our students. Getting the best out of
Definitely.
our students.
Yes, because, well, basically, that's exactly what Rudy said, going for the rules and talking in very abstract terms does not work very well.
Yeah.
We have a lot of research to, somehow support that. And one of the things that we know is that we have to allow our students to show us what they're learning. That's why this connects to the idea of making learning visible, right?
Yeah.
I think as teachers, we assume that our students are learning, but we should never assume. We have to test, we have to check. There are ways we can check. Of course, there are ways, states of mind and emotional states that we can look at and see, well, that student is not paying attention. He's not doing anything. He's not getting anything I'm saying. Then we can intervene and help them demonstrate what they have learned. So remember, don't take learning for granted when you
Mhm.
are working with your students. Check, ask. Don't ask yes or no questions. Ask them to give you the concept that you have just taught them. Otherwise, it's only speculation, guys.
Yes.
Remember that. Yeah, that's very
Y-
important.
Yeah, that's super important because uh, even if when you're correcting your students, this is something I tell teachers every time I can. Sometimes we correct our students and they say, and we ask, okay, do you get it? Do you understand it? They're going to be like, yes, I got it. Okay, wait
Yeah,
a minute. Did you really get it? Show me that you really got it. This is called
prove it.
priming. Yes, this
Yeah,
is called
prove it.
priming, you know?
Exactly.
And that's how you are going to get the best out of your students, because
Yeah,
that's what we're there for. In uh I remember the
yeah,
if you don't ask us, or if you don't tell students to actually uh use their metalinguistic skills,
yeah.
uh they'll maybe we'll never get the information that we need, and this
Because
is
they don't have
completely
the
related to
language
the
there.
cognitive bias 2.0.
Yeah.
This is the cue.
That's true. So basically, that's one of the episodes that we wanted to do again, but in a deeper way,
Yeah.
because we had talked about this before. And a cognitive bias is basically a distorted view of reality, because everybody has not just one, but many cognitive biases. Well, that means that we cannot see what's right in front of our eyes.
Yeah.
We are influenced by our social groups, by our dogmas, our religion, by our beliefs, by whatever. When we, as teachers, fall prey, or when we are influenced, let's say, by those cognitive biases, we might make assumptions that are wrong about how our students are learning. So again, not just don't try to just make your students learning visible, but make sure you're questioning yourself what you are doing as a teacher, and keep working on your skills too, guys. That's why Rudy said something about metalinguistic awareness and knowledge. Remember metacognition. We talked about metacognition in those 2 episodes, because it's really the ability to question the things that you're doing and find a better way to learn. It's learning how to learn better, right? So
Yeah.
we have cognitive biases, but we have to be able to identify them.
Mhm.
Otherwise, we might do a lot of damage, and we will not even be aware of the damage we're causing, right? Yeah,
Yes. And this idea that I know what I'm doing and what I'm doing is the right way because I've been doing this for whatever many years you're talking about here. This may not be the best way of doing that, because
yeah,
maybe what you learn what um, what you learned 20, 30 years ago. That
Yes.
could have been groundbreaking 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
But 20, 30 years have passed. That's not groundbreaking anymore.
Yes.
It's not groundbreaking
Update
anymore, you know.
yourselves.
And
Yeah.
this is the cue for Paulo Freire, because
Yes.
one of the things that Paulo Freire uh, fought fiercely against was the whole idea of making or trying to make students literate by
Yeah.
doing something completely out of context, and
Yeah.
therefore we
And
have
imported, Eurocentric. You know?
super,
Yeah.
no, super.
Yeah.
And this is something that we've been doing, not in the
Yeah.
same way as 20, 30 years ago, but
Yeah.
with bilingualism. We're trying to be
Exactly.
more careful now, but somehow it's leading us to something more Eurocentered. But anyway,
Yeah.
um, what Paulo Freire fought against, or the example that he used, was in Portuguese, in Brazilian Portuguese, a Eva viu a uva. Because a long time ago, when for some reason Andre just, I think I can't see Andre anymore. I think it's just me now. But anyway,
See you and hear
uh,
you. Don't worry.
some years ago, what did we have in schools? We had what we called cartilhas. Those were
Yes.
textbooks, very simple and very mechanized textbooks to teach students how to spell words and how to write sentences.
Yeah.
But those sentences were completely hollowed you know,
They
because the
were just
idea
for
of,
alliteration, right? But
yes,
just,
because the whole
because you
idea,
had
the
the
whole
same
v
syllable,
v
the
v
same
eva
right? Yeah.
viu v,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
they were hollow. They were
Yeah.
completely hollow. Why? Who's Eva? Who was Eva or Eve? Why
Yeah.
grape? Why did she eat it? So there was no
Yeah.
context. So basically, um, the educational system, we're teaching students how to identify
Yeah.
words, sentences, not understand sentences.
Yeah.
And that's not reading.
It
Reading means
was very,
understanding and
yeah,
comprehending.
a very, if you think about it, it was really about a technical, or sort of for specific purposes, let's say,
Yeah.
that to give students some functionality,
Ooh, underflows for a
understanding.
moment.
Yeah.
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 Well, before, yeah, Andre's having some
Okay.
internet issues, I guess.
I'm
At
here.
least
Can you hear me?
I
Yeah.
think for me, I
Okay.
cannot hear him and see him anymore.
Okay.
But the thing
That's
is,
weird.
oh, he's coming back.
I'm
He's
here.
coming back.
I
Oh,
can
you're
still
here?
hear you all the time. Yeah. Like I don't know what
For
happened.
some reason, I lost
You
you.
lost me. Okay. But I'm
Yeah,
I'm
but go
here.
ahead.
Okay. No, so I was saying that there is an aspect, this operational aspect of teaching, that even today in Brazilian education is very present, that Paulo Freire fought against, because Paulo Freire wanted people to understand and question what they were learning and contextualize. It's not, a lot of people defend an education that makes you, I don't know, learn how to calculate things and learn how to read a text. But what kind of reading is that? Superficial, just, a functional, operational type of reading that, yeah, you can understand the words, you can see what, how they make up a sentence and all of that. But do you understand the inner meaning of the text? Can you interpret a text? Paulo Freire wanted you to get to that deeper level. So he said, hey, it's not about banking education, like too much input and students don't think about it, but they have to be critical. That's why we refer to Paulo Freire as the father, at least from Brazil, of critical pedagogy, because he wanted people to question whether they were learning stuff that made sense, or if they were being further alienated, let's say, to be functional, but at a very low level. Right, Rudy? Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, Eurocentric, because we imported
Yeah,
curricula
the
from
problem
Europe,
is, of course, there are many things happening. Let's say Europe in this case, because we have a lot of countries in a very small space, and they're all
Yeah.
close to each other there. And of course, they're going to have more intercultural interactions than, for example, here in Brazil. We
Yes.
have intercultural interactions in Brazil, but within our borders, not necessarily with different countries. And of course, when we analyze certain studies, especially bilingualism studies related to bilingual education, of course, we're
Which
going to
was one
import.
episode too. Yeah. We
Huh?
talked about it. We also talked about bilingual education in one of our
Exactly.
episodes. Yeah.
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 We
Yeah.
did. This is the cue.
This is a cue. Yeah.
This
Perfect.
is the cue. And
Yeah.
but of course, we're going to import a lot of things. But we have to remember, this is Brazil. We're going to have a different bilingualism here in Brazil. The
Yes.
bilingualism that they have mainly in Europe or English spoken countries in Europe is completely different from the bilingualism that we have here. Therefore, we're going to have different demands. Our students are going to have different demands here in Brazil. For example, how are we
For
going?
sure. Yeah.
How are we supposed to deal with bilingualism in schools here in Brazil? Are we going to do the exact same things that European teachers do? No, we're not, because the situation there is different. For example, a
Yeah.
bilingual situation in Edinburgh, I have a professor. Her name, I had a professor. Her name was Sorachi,
Antonella?
Antonella,
Yeah. Yes.
Professor Sorachi. She is globally known for studying bilingualism.
And she has a very cool institution called Bilingualism Matters, by the
Bilingualism
way.
matters,
So
yes,
check it out.
and definitely check it out.
Yeah.
And of course, the way they address bilingualism in Edinburgh, in Scotland, is completely different from the way we address, or we're supposed to address, bilingualism in Brazil. For
That's it.
instance, first in Brazil, we first need to understand, schools need to understand themselves. Are they international schools? Are they bilingual schools? Are they schools that are going to offer an extended amount of time of a second language? That's
Yes.
the first thing that they need to do, because
And what
this is
kind of
going to
teacher
be
will be
exactly, this is going to
exactly.
be the basis for us teachers.
Yeah.
Because once the school understands what they are going to be able to actually tell teachers, okay, teachers, I want this from you. I want that from you. This is the path that we're going to go
That's it.
through. That's the path that we're going to go through. That's
Yeah.
the first thing schools need to
And you
do.
know what, bro? I was thinking about how that connects really well with Native-speakerism, which is the episode that we did live here in Goiânia at the
Yeah.
International Brass Diesel Conference. And that was a very cool episode because we got armchairs. We actually had armchairs and we
And a
had
coffee table.
tea and a coffee table. Yes, we did. But I mean, think about it. A lot of bilingual schools or schools with this extended curriculum in an additional language, they're still replicating the EFL approach. They're, like go back a couple of decades ago, and what was the best model for English? A native speaker, according to them anyway. So the best teacher we can get is a native speaker. However, a native speaker is not necessarily a teacher, much less a qualified teacher. And English is not spoken only in that country where this woman was born. And they are probably not the best role models when it comes to communication, at least globally. So nowadays we're living an environment, or let's say the context is English as a lingua franca, a global language. Why
Yeah.
should I be taught by some dude who was born in, I don't know, Texas, Tennessee, or New York or whatever, if I am going to talk to Indian people, Nigerian people, Chinese people who speak English, Japanese people? Rudy and I studied abroad. Ask Rudy how many of his colleagues were from actually Scotland or from around the world. Like there were 90 countries represented at the University of Bristol. I hardly ever talked to, every day I talk to a British person, but they were from all over Britain, not just from Bristol or from London. They had different accents. So why does a native speaking teacher give any student any advantage when it comes to communicating globally with people from all over the world, right? So we have to change that paradigm, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
yes.
Yes. This is, and there's one more thing. There, we have a lot of students who say, "Oh, I want a native speaker because I don't want to get the accent of a Brazilian speaking English." For crying out loud, the person is going to have like 1-2 years of English classes. And do
Yeah.
you think 2 years, having 2 classes a week of 1 or 1.5 hours, this
Yeah.
person is actually going to get the accent of the
Yeah.
teacher?
And
No,
and we
it takes
rarely get the
years.
accent of our
And
teachers, guys. We
in a
don't get the
lot of
accent.
exposure for a
Yeah.
person to actually get the accent of other people.
Yeah.
Seriously, it's not going to happen in 2 classes a week of 1 or of 60 or 90 minutes.
Yeah.
No, it's not going to happen like this at all. At
Yeah.
all. So, yeah, I
Forget
mean,
about it.
no, it doesn't work like this.
Yeah.
And yeah, forget it. No, no, get rid of this idea. And to wrap up, because this is the last topic of
Yes.
this episode before we go on vacation as well.
Yeah.
Or not vacation, recess, holiday recess,
Recess. Yeah.
holiday
Yeah.
recess.
Yeah.
Um,
But
what we
true,
need to
truth be
do
told, we're gonna keep
first
working, bro.
as teachers.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, no, for Chá
I mean,
Pedagógico. For Chá
okay. Yeah,
Pedagógico.
Chá Pedagógico.
Chá
Yeah, but we're
Pedagógico is
gonna
going to be
keep
on
working.
vacation.
That's true. That's true.
Chá Pedagógico is going to be on vacation. And what we need to do when we're in the classroom, whether the classroom is online, virtual, or actual classroom,
Yeah.
we first need to understand what kind of school you're working for. And then all you got to do is put an effort on your lesson planning. But
Yeah.
regardless, you need to give your students a moment to actually use the language.
That's very
And
true.
this, I'm coming back to the very beginning. Language doesn't change the way we think. Language use does this. This is
Yes.
something very dangerous. This is something that I've been, because a lot of people say language changes the way we think, changes the language. Well, no, it's not language. It's language use. It's
Yeah.
language use. Because if you just say language, people are going to think, okay, I speak a language and this is going to change the way I think. No, 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 no. The language needs to be used in order for a person to actually change their representations or add a representation or whatever. So language use.
Yeah.
And your students need to use the language, whether you're working at an international school, at a bilingual school, or a regular school that offers an extended amount of minutes or hours in a different language.
And you
All
know
right.
what, Rudy? It's not just about input. It's not just about being exposed to the language. There's a lot of input involved. I mean output involved.
Yeah.
Because what we know from neuroscience and psychology is that abstract theoretical thinking, and of course that's important as well, but language is a mixture of a physical thing and an abstract thing, because we have words, they have meaning, but we also have to use them in a sentence, in a conversation, and that's the physical world. So you only learn how to do that if you do that. There's no way, you cannot simulate that in your brain. You have to do it. It's kind of like watching a video, an instructional video to learn how to play the guitar. Like I have a guitar here, and just watch it and imagine that you can do those things. No, you actually have to do it so you can learn how to do it. And speaking a language is like that as well. So do it. Allow your students to use that language, right?
Exactly.
That's
all right.
it.
So I think we covered
we did
11
bro.
episodes.
Oh my God. That's amazing. Yeah.
All right, guys. So this was Chá Pedagógico for the year 2024. I hope you had a great time following the episodes, whether you were here live with us, joining us while we were streaming the episodes, or if you were watching the recording of the episodes. Seriously, thank you so much. Thank you so much for a lot of reasons. First, because it's a new house and we cannot,
Disal,
I know.
you rock.
I mean, we do this, we've been doing this, and we'll always do this every episode. We have to thank Disal. They opened their doors to us. We've been doing Chá Pedagógico for next year is going to be 6 years. So
6
this is the
years.
fifth
Oh, wow.
anniversary of Chá Pedagógico. We've been doing this for almost 6 years. But then
Yeah,
Disal opened their doors, and we'll never thank Disal enough. And when we thank
most
Disal,
definitely.
we
Yeah.
thank the whole team behind us. Lírica, Jéssica,
Yes.
Eric, Tamires,
Tamiris.
they are the
Yeah,
team behind us. We're here today because of these guys, not only Disal. Disal as a
definitely.
company and these people, because these
Our
are
big brother
the
and big
guys.
sisters. Okay.
They
They're
are the
always in the
guys.
background,
Thank you so
pulling the
much for
strings,
this.
making things
Exactly.
work. Otherwise, we
Yes.
wouldn't be here. Yes.
At all. At all.
Thank you so much, guys. You
Um,
rock.
Thank you guys for watching us and using the comment section and liking the episodes and
Yes.
sharing the episodes
Yeah.
and coming to us in our socials, and do so. Please don't forget, we also have socials.
We
Follow
do.
us, talk to us. We're super open to that.
And
Um,
Rudy, we have to thank a lot of people for following and subscribing to the channel, because we got a lot of new followers this year because of Chá Pedagógico directly. So we know that
yeah.
people came to Disal's channel to watch us, and some people are always watching us every
Yeah.
episode. So thank you so much, guys, for subscribing. We hope many more people will come, because we really want to share a lot of crazy stuff about the brain and language with you, okay? In the coming episodes.
We
Yeah.
already have a lot for 2025. You have no idea what's coming in
Oh, yeah.
2025. Seriously.
I'm going to
Seriously.
go to a
All
bar
right.
with Rudy, and we're going to write down a lot of crazy stuff. Folks, you have no
You have
idea.
no
Yeah.
idea. No idea. So,
Yeah.
guys, thank you. Thank you for enjoying Chá Pedagógico.
Yeah.
If you like Chá Pedagógico, you can take Chá Pedagógico to your school. If you want to have us in
Yes.
your school talking about linguistics, about language development, linguistics, and neuroscience, talk to
Yeah.
us. We're bringing Chá Pedagógico to your school. Just talk to us. We
That
can
is
do
very
this in the
true.
very beginning of 2025. I know in the beginning of a lot of schools are having the planning moment, and
Yeah.
a lot of courses happen inside schools. Yes, talk to us. Oh, I watched you guys on Giselle's YouTube channel for Chá Pedagógico, the podcast, blah blah blah. I
That's
want to
so
have
true. Yeah.
an episode here in my school with my teachers. Yeah,
That
can
would be so
there.
cool. We will be there. We'll talk about very interesting things you should know. And of course, we can customize, according
course.
to what your group needs, and just talk to us, and we'll make it happen. Right?
Exactly. Guys, thank you so much. Dude, I know we're still going to talk for the remainder of
Yeah.
the year, but
We
yeah.
will, bro. Yeah.
Yeah, once again,
Dude,
year
happy
5.
holidays, you, your family, okay? And
You too, man.
tell little Sophia that I'll give her a present when I see her next, okay? Yes.
Yeah, I'll do that. You too,
Yeah.
man. You, your cats, your wife. Happy holidays for you and for you guys. Thank you so much. I'll see you in 2025 for Chá Pedagógico year number 6.
Oh,
Bye-bye,
that's going to be
guys.
awesome. Bye-bye, guys. Thank you for following.
Yeah, I'll do that. You too,
Yeah.
man. You, your cats, your wife. Happy holidays for you and for you guys. Thank you so much. I'll see you in 2025 for Chá Pedagógico year number 6.
Oh,
Bye-bye,
that's going to be
guys.
awesome. Bye-bye, guys. Thank you for following.
Yeah, I'll do that. You too, man. You, your cats, your wife.